It is now October. You know what that means. Bubba is all revved up about everything the fall season brings. Excluding out Halloween. He's just not a fan. I'll tell you what he does like though. Leaves changing colors, cooler temperatures, and Wapsie Valley football. Have you noticed how hard he works on those weekly highlight videos? Shoot, I know the high schoolers on Instagram and the parents on Facebook sure like him. But one thing is more important than all of that, and it takes center stage in October. Breast cancer awareness. And today we got Bubba's mom, Trisha, in the studio to share about her battle with breast cancer. So ladies,
listen up.
That's right, listen up. I'm sure there will be some lighter moments too, after all. Bubba was one of the biggest mama's boys ever.
Ha ha, mama's boy.
Hey man, be nice. Huh, what a turd. Maybe we will even get to hear some good old Cajun stories about the aftermath of hurricane and fictitious swamp monsters. Here's your host.
And his mama.
And his mama, Trisha Seemann!
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. What is up? Welcome to a special episode of the What Is Up podcast. My goodness, this is our first recorded video episode. Say hi to the camera. Just say hi. There it is. That's it. No, we don't got 2 or 3 different cameras. No, we're not that big time yet. We're starting with just one. So hold your horses and we'll get there eventually, I suppose. But yes. This is a special episode for multiple reasons, not just my guest, but if you hear some banging and some pounding, well, that's because there's improvements going on at the Seemann household. We've got a Four Seasons room going in. No, it's not from profits from the podcast. This is part of our 10-year plan that all of a sudden my guest today said she could help get it done for half the cost. So our 10-year plan got bumped into, well, we can just do it while I'm off on vacation. So you'll hear a little bit of that today. But no, it's actually a special episode because it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and that's what this episode's going to focus on. It's October. That means farmers are thinking harvest. Yeah. Wapsie Valley is thinking playoffs, and the ladies should be thinking about breast cancer awareness.
Yes.
Before we get to our special guest who has personal experience in the battle against breast cancer, I want to remind everybody listening, or now that you might be watching again, it might not be old. I might not get tired of just waving at the camera. I don't know. I got to remind everybody, whether you're listening or watching, you have to subscribe, follow, like, wherever you're listening, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube. If you're on Spotify, leave us that 5-star rating. If you're on YouTube, you got to hit that thumbs up button. Yes. Follow our social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook. Guys, there's all kinds of extra stuff there. There's funny reels. There's information about our giveaways when we give away some of our merch. And then you got to share with your friends on your social media. And if you want to take it a step further, you can show off your impeccable taste by sporting some of our merch. Guys, we got the best looking t-shirts around, I promise you. Just send me an email at whatisuppodcast@gmail.com and tell us what you want, and we'll hook you up. It's that easy. But then I'd like a picture of you wearing our awesome gear so I can use that on our social media as well. Once you've done all that, once you've liked and subscribed and done all that stuff and commented, then you can sit back and enjoy the show. And boy, do we have a good one for you today. For Breast Cancer Awareness Month, a few people came to mind for me. One who's already run the gauntlet and beat her cancer into remission, and hopefully later on this month she'll be coming on as well. But our guest today, she is right in the middle of her breast cancer battle. She has a lot of insight to offer up that will hopefully enlighten us and encourage women who may be going through this at some point in their life, maybe encourage the younger women to start screening, start testing, get on this thing early. She is hands down one of the toughest women I know. She's helped put drug dealers behind bars and off the streets. She's repoed many vehicles in one of the largest dealerships in Slidell, Louisiana. She and the rest of my family used to be known for being some of the fiercest storm chasers there were, FEMA's right-hand crew. She raised 2 boys that would have tested the limits of even the toughest parents. but she's also one of the most loyal people on the planet. Let me tell you, if you are on her good side, that is a good place to be. She will sacrifice and fight for you until she breathes her last. And just so we're clear, when that day does come, she knows exactly where she's going. My wife has always said I was one of the biggest mama's boys that ever lived. So, of course, today I'm talking about my mom, Trisha Seemann. What is up?
Thanks for having me.
You sound a little nervous.
Oh, that intro. Yes.
Well, yeah,
it
that's
wouldn't
that
be.
personal flavor. I
Yes.
mean, you gotta do that. That's what sets me apart from all the other people who are getting paid to do this. For a
Oh,
living.
absolutely.
I'm actually good at it. So suck it all, you people. I'm coming for you. Okay. So, tell the audience a little bit about yourself. Some people may know you. Some people may not. This may be the first time some people have ever heard, I'm going to cut all that out. That doesn't sound good. So just... all this is going to be edited.
Thank God.
So for our listeners that don't know you, that don't know anything about you or anything like that, they've never heard me talk about my parents, I don't know, they've probably been living in a cave. But tell the audience a little bit about yourself right now. How old you are, where you live, what you do for a living, what you like to do, those kinds of things.
So I'm Trisha Seemann. I'm Bubba's mom. He is my middle child, what they call the rocking chair. And believe it or not, he gave me the least amount of trouble of the three. Gave me the least amount of trouble. I feel like he has such an awesome heart. He just genuinely was a kid who grew up to be an even greater adult, a great parent.
You're supposed to be telling us about
I know. Well, that does reflect on me as your parent,
Okay. There you go.
So I live in South Mississippi, in a little town called Nikkei's Crossing. Believe it or not, it's smaller than Fairbank.
Yeah.
We have one stop sign. That's it. We have a Dollar General market and a car wash. That's it. We have very, very low crime rate. We're about probably 30 minutes to the nearest Walmart, which
Okay.
is right. That's right where we like to be. A small community that is kind of lost in time, so to speak. It's a very rural community.
Yeah, rural. Yeah.
And so currently, I'm 64 now, so I'd like to say that I don't have to work full time all the time. I try to spend a lot of time with my grandchildren. That's my joy, are the grandbabies. So Johnny has 3, and Jenny has 3, and we all live fairly close together.
Yeah.
So I do get to spend a lot of time with them. And then my trips here, here this year, I think I'm going to get actually 4 trips in here this year. I've been very blessed that work has worked out for me that way. So currently, I'm on hiatus from NASA, where I review contracts, awards that NASA grants.
Numbers stuff.
Numbers, yes.
Yeah.
Numbers and legality.
Okay.
That's pretty much been my thing my whole life, the legality of
Yeah,
things.
you're not going to the moon or anything.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No, maybe in my 80s or something,
We got to test this out. Let's put her on a ship and send her.
Well, they say with the right medicine, you'll go to the moon. So, I currently, just as needed, I work for a friend of mine who is a lawyer, corporate lawyer, again, reviewing documents for legalities and things like that. Sometimes if the court needs me, I'll help hold bond hearings. I'll sit in as a law clerk when they need me. Haven't done a lot of that, but my passion is search and rescue. My passion is helping people.
Okay.
And so, as you know, or maybe they don't know, that recently we had Hurricane Francine, Hurricane Helen came up next. And because we're recording this a week, I believe, prior to the 1st of October, we currently have Hurricane Helene in the Gulf.
Yeah, bearing down.
Bearing down, looks like a hit, probably bullseye somewhere between Apalachicola, Florida. Go ahead and say that, Apalachicola.
Apalachicola,
Florida, and probably Tampa. So originally, as you know, Baba, I was scheduled not even to fly home until tomorrow. But because of the storm, they've asked me to fly home a day early so that we can be prepared to have boots on the ground within 12 hours after the hurricane makes landfall. So that's my passion. It helps that it pays, but it doesn't pay in the beginning. In the beginning, when we do search and rescue, you're doing that out. That's just a labor of love for your fellow man. And I believe that I was called to do that long before Dad died. That's how we got started in this, was Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah.
And then we went from there down to Houston for Hurricane Ike, then to Lake Charles for Hurricane Laura, and it became our passion.
Yeah. And that's what people know. People understand if they know me. They're like, oh, your mom comes up. Oh, you guys do a crawfish boil, all that. So why is all your family down there and you're up here? And so then I tell them, well, Dad, grew up here, moved down there. You guys got married, we moved back up here. But then after Katrina, you guys all got in the storm business, and I did not. I was in the glamorous life of cabinet making at Omega for 15 years.
You have always been anti-entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
You never.
God bless you who can do it and want to do this is a not-for-profit venture right here, and I'm already in over my head. I can't imagine.
And when you say that, I always think about Dad and I in the shop and in the old Dunkerton building. Dad said, this was before we started Pizza Depot. He's like, well, what are we going to do? We got to have a business for these boys. They've got to work. What are we going to do? So what did we do?
Started a pizza place.
Pizza Depot.
Yeah.
So the boys could have a job.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Who does that?
I don't know.
Your parents. That's who did it. So y'all could have a job.
Yeah.
And you were the first pizza delivery person that
That's
Dunkerton
right.
ever saw.
That's right. The legend lives on.
Yes.
People still talk about that.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, enough of my childhood. How about you a little bit? So tell us a little bit about growing up on the bayou, and you got some examples you want to share with people about hurricanes and things like that.
So I grew up on Bayou Sauvage. It's a small bayou just outside of New Orleans. There was a huge power plant on another bayou, but that power plant would release gas, and that gas traveled through the water. Now, swamp is murky and dirty, and you really can't see. But that gas would emit a light. Well, as a child, I didn't know that light was coming from that power plant. And my mama and papa, really, who raised me up until my teenage years, when he would want us to behave or to do something, he would say, you better behave or I'm calling the fee-fo-lay on you.
Oh, my goodness.
And the fee-fo-lay were those lights. And so we always thought that was a monster.
Oh, my goodness.
And it wasn't. It was not a monster at all. But I didn't learn into my adulthood that the fee-fo-lay was nothing.
What's the other one? What's the other fictitious monster? I think it's more Mexican or Spanish or Cajun.
The rougarou?
The rougarou,
The rougarou.
Yeah.
The rougarou. No, he's French.
Okay.
The rougarou.
Oh,
He's
my
like the
goodness.
Honey Island swamp monster, but he's the rougarou. We never believed in the rougarou.
It's the Cajun version of Bigfoot is what it is.
Yes.
That's all it is.
We knew about the rougarou, but we didn't think the rougarou visited our swamp. The rougarou was somewhere else. We had the fee-fo-lay.
And you wonder why kids from the South come out so messed up. Look at the stuff that the kids grow up with. Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Okay.
So there were two major hurricanes when I was little. 1965, Hurricane Betsy, and 1969 was Hurricane Camille. Hurricane Betsy directly hit New Orleans, the eye wall, which is the worst, hit New Orleans. 1969, the eye of Hurricane Camille hit Gulfport.
Okay.
You can see, if you go online, you can see lots of ships and stuff that to this day are still on shore, and they named them the SS Camille.
Okay.
They were ships that were blown in.
Yeah.
And they left them there. 1965 Hurricane Betsy, we evacuated because we were on the bayou, and they were my uncle at the time, Uncle Dick, worked for the New Orleans Police Department, and they wanted him evacuated. Everybody from that end of the bayou evacuated. And several days later, when they finally allowed us to go home, they took us, Papa and Uncle Dick took us in a flatboat. We'd go as far as we could by car, which I don't even remember how far that was. Then we got in a boat, And when we got there, we paddled through the second floor window. That's how high the water still was.
Yeah.
And I was little. I was only 5 years old, but I can remember that so vividly, that there was stuff everywhere. There was, household furnishings, toys, just things in the trees, that had gotten blown. And I didn't know it then. I didn't know it really until I was way in my 30s, that I saw bags, black bags. And I thought they were collecting people's stuff because they would attach them to other trees or to poles or things like that. And Papa and I were having a conversation one day about it. And I said, I want to know why people got stuff back. We never got anything back. Nothing. We never got anything.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, un petit. No. He said that was bodies. So as they found bodies floating, they would put them in bags and then attach them to something.
The pole or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that someone could come back around and get them. That was people who didn't evacuate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that left a lasting impression on me. Her devastation was, and you can go online. There's still pictures.
Oh yeah, you can look them up.
Pictures of the devastation of Hurricane Betsy and Hurricane Camille. He always thought that the next major hurricane, Hurricane 5 or better, would start with the letter D. He went to his grave with that, because in 1955 was Hurricane Audrey, and that was a major hurricane for New Orleans. Then Betsy, then Camille. He went to his grave thinking the next one was going to be a D. It wasn't. It was a K. Katrina was actually the next one, from 65 for New Orleans, 65 to 05.
The next category 5.
Mm-hmm.
So when they name those things, right? It's they start every year, every season. They start at the beginning of the alphabet.
Yes.
And then they rotate male, female names or something like that. Like
now
there's a
they
system
do.
to it.
Now it used to be all female.
Okay.
There didn't used to be any males. I'm not sure what year that changed in, but now they are alternated. And if they exceed a certain number of deaths or a certain amount of money, that name gets retired and can never be used again. Like Katrina can never be used again.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, man. Yeah, there we go. Well, we just educated the audience a little bit on what that's like, but this is going to be a different episode as well. We're not going to dig in. You didn't want to just, have a typical episode where part 1 is all about your life and part 2 is all the fun segments. You want to do something specifically about breast cancer, but I was like, well, let's take a little bit of time at the beginning and let people kind of get to know you a little bit. But then we'll move right into, the main stuff that you want to talk about, which is breast cancer awareness.
Yes.
So I'm going to let you just kind of start there, and I'm going to follow along, and maybe I'll learn something as well. You were going to start with just kind of why you wanted to tell people about this, and then go right into the basics of it all.
So, breast cancer, it's the second most common cancer for women, second only to skin cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not preventable or curable, but you certainly, I'm not going to say it's not curable, because you can go in remission. But if it's caught early like mine was, you have such a better chance.
Mm-hmm.
And I did nothing to catch mine early.
Mm-hmm.
So in 1994, when we first moved up here, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer.
Right.
Had a complete hysterectomy, and they suggested then, you're going to have, because of the cervical cancer, you're going to have breast cancer screenings every year. I was only in my 30s then.
Yeah.
Typically, mammograms start at age 40. So every year I had a mammogram done. All was well. Even when, and a lot of people don't have insurance, mammograms can be very expensive. And especially if they do an ultrasound mammogram or a 3D mammogram, they can be in the thousands of dollars.
Yikes.
Most of your imaging companies during Breast Cancer Awareness Month, the month of October, will do breast cancer screenings at a very small or sometimes even free to women who don't have it. So ladies, check around.
Mm-hmm.
Check Allen Hospital or Covenant. Check your clinics. Call your health department. Somebody knows where the best imaging facility is that works with people. Because really, it can kill you. Here's the bottom line.
Yeah.
It can kill you. I had screenings every year until Dad died. And when Dad died, I lost my way.
Mm-hmm.
everything about life changed for me.
Yeah.
And things that were important were no longer important. I woke up one day and my team was gone. So I had to figure out how to be a person without a team.
Mm-hmm.
And that took a while. It took several years. No mammograms. None. Didn't even cross my mind.
Sure.
And then you get in that complacency. You get used to not doing them. So you don't do them. And then I can't even tell you what triggered the thought in my mind. Hey, you probably need to get a mammogram.
Yeah.
I hated them because they're painful.
Yeah.
They're nothing fun to do. And I saw an advertisement on TV. Pain-free mammograms. That caught my eye.
Sign me up.
Caught my eye. So your mama, my mother, was living in an assisted living facility. I called her and I said, hey, let's go on a road trip to Metairie, which is only a couple of hours, but it gets her out.
Yeah.
She said, what are we doing? I said, we're going for mammogram. She said, no, I'm not.
Oh, you're riding along.
She said, I'm 70. I'm not going. But I'll go with you. So we did. We went, and it was painless. It was an ultrasound mammogram. That ultrasound mammogram can pick up the smallest detail. So when they diagnosed me, and I'm going to give you these dates. So let me look at my sheet. December of 22 was my diagnosis. The spot, I call it, they call it a mass, 4.0 millimeters, smaller than a BB. That's little.
Yeah, that's tiny.
That's little. I was so blessed to have found that December 10, 22. Remember that because it's going to be really important in a minute.
Okay.
My doctor sent me to an oncologist. She sent me to the Breast Cancer Center of Baton Rouge. He immediately, Dr. Bonner is his name, he's my surgeon, he immediately said, the looks of this, I know exactly what this is, and we need to get it out. So, February 7th, they took it out. That's not even 60 days.
Okay.
24 millimeters.
It grew that much.
It grew an inch in less than 60 days. So the official term for my cancer is invasive ductal carcinoma.
Okay.
Okay. So they took it out and all the tissue surrounding it, and then they biopsied my lymph nodes. So you have some lymph nodes under your arms. Men and women both have lymph nodes under their arms, kind of like almost in their armpit. If lymph node number 1 is good, all the others are good.
Okay.
But if lymph node number 1 is not, then you move on to 2 and 3. Yeah. They biopsied lymph node number 1 and it was clean. Clean.
Okay.
Absolutely nothing. So we didn't have to go any further. This lymph node number 1 is your sensory lymph node. So for about 8 months after that, I felt like my arm was on fire.
Yeah.
It felt like it was burning. But it was clean. That was the important thing. We waited, I don't know exactly how long, till May. It was in May we started radiation.
Okay.
I did 28 treatments of radiation. Radiation wasn't hard, but it will blister.
Yeah.
That's just the fact of it. But I knew that's what was required. This is such an invasive, fast-growing cancer. And I'm going to tell you, I beat myself up thinking, if only I hadn't have went all those years without a mammogram. If only.
Yeah.
And finally, one day my doc sat me down and he said, stop. He said, listen, this thing, from the time it was diagnosed, from the time it was seen on that mammogram, was probably less than a month old. Less than a month. He said, and I know you're a Christian. He said, and you said, you don't know where that message came from to entice you
to go. Yeah.
He said, I'm going to tell you where it came from. He said, you're a blessing.
Yeah.
And you got one. And if you think for 1 second it was something other than the Holy Spirit speaking to you, he said, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And I agree with him because it wasn't even on my plate.
Right.
It wasn't on my plate. Hadn't thought about it for years.
Right. Yeah.
So I did the radiation, had some issues with blisters, went through wound care, got through all of that. Now, because my cancer is hormone driven, it's driven by estrogen.
Mm-hmm.
I have to take medicine that kills all the estrogen in my body all the time because we don't want it to have any fuel at
Right.
all.
Yeah.
Well, let me just tell you, that comes with its own set of issues.
Mm-hmm.
Estrogen blocking drugs diminish your bone density.
Yeah.
It diminishes it. And I'm 64, so I already have diminished bone density. But I'm going to say this. I'm still very active and have been active my whole life. Maybe I'm not the typical 64-year-old. And when I started this journey, when they did the baseline bone density scan, they were so excited because he said, man, you've got the bones of a 50-year-old.
Yeah.
We're way ahead of the game. Even if you lose some density, we feel like we're still really good.
Right.
Because you've got it. Well, just months after taking that, I had really severe pains in the top of my legs. My bones hurt, even my jaw. I could feel my jaw, my jaw would get tired.
Yeah.
And he said, I think we need to do another bone scan. And they did. And we were devastated that I had lost 7% in just a matter of months. So they reduced it. We reduced the amount. I still take it every day, but we reduced the dosage.
Right.
Will we increase it later? We probably will. But right now I take the chemo pill and the estrogen blocker every day. It's called the 5-year plan. So when I was diagnosed at stage 2. So let me just run through those stages for you real quick. 4 stages, other than carcinoma in situ, which means you have the potential, the markers are there, but we don't see anything just yet.
Mm-hmm.
That's in situ. Stage 1 is a small 20 millimeter or smaller, and no more than one or 2 of your lymph nodes is affected.
Okay.
And it's localized. Stage 2 is localized, but it's invasive, meaning it's a type of cancer that is going to grow very quickly. If it's not treated, it has to be removed. And you can't just go for treatment first. You have to remove the tumor.
Okay.
And that's where I was, stage 2. Stage 3, it's still local to one area, but it's very advanced, meaning it's on the move. It's going to land somewhere. And so just taking that out is not an option. You actually have to go immediately into intravenous chemotherapy. You don't get to do radiation first. You have to have the chemotherapy first. And then stage 4 is usually that's terminal, that's metastatic. It's not just, it started in your breast, but it's gone in other places.
Right, yeah.
And just because breast cancer starts there, it can end up in your liver, in your lungs, in your kidney. It can go many other places. It just starts there. What's really important is screening. I just can't stress that enough. So they say mammograms at age 40, starting at age 40, but there are other factors that say you should start them sooner. Let me tell you about that. There are genetic factors that make you a higher risk for breast cancer. And so BRCA1 and 2, that's a specific gene. If you have that specific gene, you are at such a greater risk, not just for breast cancer, but also for ovarian cancer. The good news about it is starting at about age 20, you can be tested.
Okay.
You can be tested for that genetic marker.
So if your parents had, if your parents had cancer or whatever, you can.
Yes.
I see what you're saying.
Even so mine is not genetic, but even my grandchildren, my daughter and my grandchildren still should be tested for that genetic marker at age 20.
Yeah.
Most of your breast cancer causes are a combination of hormones and genetic markers. Some people just have a higher cancer antigens in their genetic marker, which makes them predisposed to it.
Yeah.
If you can know that ahead of time, if you know that at 20 you have that genetic marker, you start having mammograms at 20.
Yeah. You can be on top of it
instead
if it
of
does.
waiting till you're 40.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah, it makes sense
absolutely.
to me.
And I just can't stress that enough. There were times where Dad and I didn't have health insurance.
Yeah.
You know, but mammogram was so important. Cyto Imaging did it every October for $50. Didn't need an appointment. You walk in. They would have extra technicians there. They would even have a semi-trailer.
Mm-hmm.
You remember seeing those things?
Oh yeah, yeah.
They'd have semi-trailers with machines in there.
Yep.
So there was no waiting. You pull up, you sign your name, pay $50. You had your mammogram.
Yeah.
You could either come back there and get a printout, or they would send it to the doctor of your choice. They made it so simple.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there has to be places up here that do the same
I'm
thing.
sure, yeah.
Because breast cancer, I mean, it's growing exponentially. And the awareness is not growing
Yeah.
with the disease.
Which I don't know how. You're wearing the pink shirt. You had all these shirts made for us. I got
Yes.
one on.
Yes.
You had them all made for the family. I think we're going to get like a group photo
Yes,
together and I'll put it
yes.
on this episode or whatever. I don't understand how it's not like I've seen more October pink breast cancer awareness stuff in the last however many years than like I ever remember as a kid. So obviously it's got to be moving in the right direction. It's just you've got to have people like you get out there and say like this is how it's done. This is how you can catch it early, especially if you've had somebody in your family.
Yes.
Like you can catch it even early. At least start screening earlier so that if it does pop up, you catch it within a year. You don't wait, 10, 20 years before you
That
go in.
is correct.
So, and so you said, so when they took you off the pill, you said
The estrogen
your
blocker.
cancer, attaches to estrogen or estrogen,
Yes.
and so they take you off that because you started losing bone density. You said immediately you start feeling like,
Yes.
okay, now I'm starting to get some strength back. My bones are stronger,
Yes.
things like that. What's your current plan like then now? Because you can't continue on that. Like you said, at some point you got to go back on that because producing estrogen is what the cancer is going to feed on.
Correct.
So you have to start limiting that. But
So I am back on the estrogen blocker, but I'm on a much lower dose. So we lowered the blocker and upped the chemo.
okay.
We're trying to find that
Yeah,
balance. We will test again in January for cancer antigens. If they have not grown, then this is where we stay. So I can say that I still have some pain, but not like before.
Right.
I think they cut my dosage almost in half. The estrogen blocker almost in half. And there's several things that they could try. I have to have the blocker. If I don't have the blocker, the cancer has
It's
its
just going
fuel.
to take over.
The
Yeah.
cancer has
Yeah.
its fuel. Yes. So it was like my doc said. He said, it's not just trying to save you, but it's trying. Our job is trying to give you a quality of life too.
Yeah.
So and they're a great group of Christian men. I'm very blessed to have, and they're over 3 different hospitals in 2 different cities.
Okay.
So I have 2 at Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge General is my surgeon. Mary Bird Perkins is my primary. And I also have Dr. Wang at MD Anderson now, who's kind of hitting in there. And then Dr. Bourgeois, who is my radiology oncology out of Slidell.
Okay.
So a great team.
Sure.
Very, very blessed to have them. I think they do have my best interest, not just trying to prolong my life, but to give me a quality
Sure,
of life
yeah,
too. Yes.
So what plan do they have you? What does your routine look like right now?
Right now is the pills every day,
Mm-hmm.
5 years. So I've been on it almost 2. I have 3 to go.
Mm-hmm.
We hope that, what was the date that I gave you? 28, August of 28, I think. We hope we can say she's hit remission.
Yeah.
Right now we have nothing growing. We have nothing spreading.
How often do you meet with them then for them to monitor that?
I have monthly telehealth visits.
Okay.
They want to know how I'm feeling every single month.
Okay.
Or if something changes and it's not a telehealth time, then I call in
Okay.
and say, hey, this is going on. Any little thing, just little things like one of the things was if you begin to perspire more than normal.
Sure. Any
we
little
wanna know
indicator
it.
or something.
But on the flip side of that is I can take nothing nothing even over the counter without them approving it.
Okay.
Because I didn't know it, and I was taking Benadryl. I'd gotten in some ants. Took some Benadryl. Well, Benadryl negates whatever the active ingredient in my chemo is. So for 6 days that I took the Benadryl, the cancer pill wasn't working.
Oh.
But I didn't know that.
Well, yeah.
And it was in conversation that I said something about the Benadryl. He's like, who told you to take the Benadryl? And I said, well, I did. And
I got ate up by the ants. I got to do something.
And he said, oh, excuse me, but you got your degree from where? He said, you get nothing. You get nothing without us approving that, because that's how intricate, I guess, the treatment plan is.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the therapy they got you doing? It's not just the pill, it's not just the visits. They got you on this immunotherapy.
So, chemotherapy brings your immune system down.
Right.
So
I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. It don't matter what kind of cancer you got. The chemo is, it's going to try and get it, but it is going to get you in the process.
It robs you of everything. So immunotherapy builds your immune system so that the chemo doesn't take you so far down. When you said that, I thought you were talking about the virtual reality. That's what I thought.
Oh my goodness.
That's what I thought you were talking about, because he said, look, if you're not going to exercise, you're going to have to do something. Even get you a virtual reality.
Okay. So for the audience, we just installed one of those new mesh router systems that we can control on our phone. And Sarah monitors that thing. So Mom gets up here a few days ago for vacation, and one night, Sarah says, "Hey, someone just hacked into our Wi-Fi and connected with an Oculus. We're being hacked." And we're like, "Who could that be?" And it's like, Grace pipes up and goes, "Momo has an Oculus." And we're like, "Oh my goodness, go downstairs, be quiet, and try and catch Momo with her goggles on and doing stuff." And here it was James playing with it. But
That's
anyway,
hilarious.
Yeah.
Yes. That's for cardio.
Okay.
That's for cardio.
Right.
Because of the pain in my legs, I'm not able to walk and do the things as much as I used to before.
Yeah.
And so we want to keep the cardio up, obviously. And that's what he said. Well, if you're not, he wanted me to buy it's some kind of a mirror. It's a mirror that you put on the wall.
And you work out with it.
Yeah. I said, I'm not doing that. And he said, well, at the very least, buy yourself an Oculus. Well, I knew about Oculus because Branson, he's 6 years old. He has an Oculus.
Man.
I said, okay, so I ordered an Oculus.
Those are the kind of doctors I want. The ones that say play video games. Oh, I love it.
Just to keep 15 minutes a day, just to keep, he said, chase the monkeys.
I thought the Wii was going to change all video games. I said, this thing is going to take over. We won't even have Xboxes and play. And it did. It had a huge run.
Yes, it did.
That was just a whole new wave of...
Now the Oculus.
Yeah. Okay, well, I like it. So the goal is...
5 years.
Keep doing that for 5 years.
Yes.
Yeah, the 5-year plan. Don't see it grow. Hold it at bay and get some good years out.
Yes.
That's it.
And I think we're winning. And I think part of the reason... there's a number of reasons, but I think one of the small little pieces of the winning puzzle is that I don't get to give up.
Yeah.
I'm responsible for running my household, for, paying my bills, taking care of my animals, taking care of my home. I'm responsible for all of that. So I don't have, even when I don't feel like it, I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So I can't give up. Some of the ladies that were in the same group I was in when I first started are now in wheelchairs.
Right.
These ladies all have husbands.
Right.
They were able to go home and I would like to say focus on getting well, but they focused on being sick.
Yeah.
And I feel like they just went home.
It hindered them.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do. I really feel like that. There are days where I don't want to pick my head up, and some days I don't.
Yeah.
Some days I have to call one of the grandchildren to come over and make sure that, an animal is fed or
Sure.
the garbage is out, whatever it might be. But for the most part, I feel like the hindrance of having cancer has only taken me down by maybe 10%. And that, I think, is
That's not bad.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Really, I think that's wonderful.
Yeah. You say don't give up. I had this thing I heard recently on the Unashamed podcast. A guy said God placed this big boulder and he asked this guy to push it. He said, every day I want you to come and I want you to push this thing. And so the guy shows up day after day and he's pushing on, he can't move it. It's just too big.
Yeah.
It's just too big.
Yeah.
So after a while, people start noticing, man, this guy's not moving this thing. And so he notices them noticing him not moving it. So he finally just gives up, And then one day God says to him, he goes, hey, I haven't seen you at the boulder in a while. He says, God, it's just too big. I haven't moved that thing an inch. I've pushed on it as hard as I could, and I haven't moved it. And God says, when did I say anything about moving it? I told you to push it.
Yep.
I told you to push it. Look at where you're at now. Look at how strong your legs are. Look at how strong your arms are. You can draw buckets of water. You can walk for miles and deliver them to orphans and widows, and you can do what I want you to do now because you showed up and pushed it. You can't give up. You just can't give up.
No,
That's it. I love it.
You cannot give up.
And so your message to young people and to women is just, hey,
Yes.
get in there early, get screened.
Screening. And if
Catch
you
it early.
have anyone in your family, and I should have been privy to this. My mother is one of 10 children, 5 girls, 5 boys. She is the sole female survivor of her siblings. All 4 of her siblings passed with breast cancer.
Yeah.
My mother does not have it. I say that, but she hasn't been tested for many years. But the last time she had a mammogram, which was probably in her 70s, she didn't have it.
Yeah.
But because 4 of my aunts were positive, that just increased my chance of having that genetic marker. But I do not have the genetic marker.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that your girls won't.
Right. No, I get it. Yeah.
So, yes, screening. That's so important.
Absolutely. There you go, girls. There's your advice.
Yes, screening.
So stop with the hate mail about not having enough females on. I just had a female on who spoke to females.
Yes.
So I might as well not even have been in the room. That's how much I care about females. Okay? All right, you wanted to have some fun, too. We wanted to try and cram in the fun stuff as well. So we're at about 40 minutes. I think we can squeeze in some of these segments and have some fun and lighten things up a bit because we got the main message out there.
Yes.
So let's try and do this. Let's try and do job rundown. What has Trisha done from start to finish, if you can remember them all?
Oh, my goodness. So let's see. I started out, as a teenager, I started out at McDonald's. But as an adult, that was my very first job.
All right.
As an adult, I started out repoing cars for Toyota Motor Credit. Great job. Great job. And that's actually how I met Dad.
Yeah, a little risky. Great job. A little risky.
It was a great job. I had territory in New Orleans, mostly the projects, the low-income housing. Yeah. And that's where Dad came in because most of those cars were not drivable anymore.
Oh, yeah, the tow truck driver.
Tow truck driver, yes. And I was actually volunteering for the parish that we lived in for their drug enforcement. I was the only female that could go in and make a buy and come out. Loved that job. Do you remember with Troy and Fred and Mike and all those guys? You remember any of those guys?
Just vague stuff. Yeah. I remember the one guy had a car alarm that talked. I think Dad worked with him at Driver's Paradise, and maybe at some point he did some buys. I remember thinking this guy's undercover because he had long stringy hair.
Oh yeah, that was Fred.
And he had a way nice vehicle that if you got close to it, it said step away from the vehicle. And that was unheard of in the 90s.
You didn't even have to touch it.
No.
You didn't even have to touch it, but if you got close, there was a sensor.
Yeah, it was proximity sensors, and that was back in the early 90s.
Yes, it was.
That was crazy.
That was Fred's car. And so from there, I got into law, as a paralegal, then went to law. Well, didn't get into law school, but I went to night school at Upper Iowa.
Yep.
And graduated there with an associate's degree. And then when my dad died, I moved back home and never went back to school. Katrina came. Papa died in May. Katrina came the end of August.
Yeah.
Never went back to school, but stayed in law. And I guess because that at the time, that was my passion. Law was my passion. Which,
Sure.
and you kind of picked up on that too, because
I
you
love
started
that
out
stuff.
criminal justice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And still do stuff, in the legal field, mostly reviewing documents and things like that. I'm not real big on criminal law, documents, contract law. That's probably my favorite. And then search and rescue, that's my passion.
Okay. Good. All right. You wanted to do some this or that.
Okay.
I said, I'll give you said something about Gen Z slang or this or that. And I'm like, oh man, we're going to embarrass you on Gen Z slang.
Yes, you will.
Let's just do some,
this
this
or
or that. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Hot or iced?
Iced.
Movie or book?
Book.
Travel or stay home?
Depends.
Some of these really are like that. Drive or fly?
Fly.
Yeah, I'll never drive the south to north again.
Yes.
That's crazy. Sweet or salty?
Both.
Host or be a guest? You want to have people over, or you want to go somewhere and be waited
Nope, I'm usually the host.
on? Okay. Let's see. Ranch or barbecue?
Ranch.
Cracker Barrel or Waffle House?
Waffle House all the way.
Cake or pie?
Cake.
Chicken or beef?
Chicken.
Fast car. Oh, this is weird. I shouldn't even ask that. Fast car or big truck? You really don't care as long as it's reliable.
Yes. A Buick.
Okay. Gum or mints?
Mints.
Shower at night or in the morning?
Morning.
Gosh. Okay, now please save us with this one. Over or under with the paper towels and the toilet paper?
The patent will show. Over the top. Always. Right. For both toilet paper and paper towels. There is no other way.
I think we'll insert it right here. We'll insert it. My buddy Dave Spear in the office, he gave me a copy of the patent of toilet paper and the toilet paper roll, and it shows that it's supposed to lay over the front. And then he said, well, you can also just do the easy explanation. It's beards are cool, mullets are not.
That's right.
And it's like, oh, that is true.
That
Okay.
is true.
So maybe we can, if I'm good at what I do, I can get it inserted here. But now that we're doing video, I don't know.
I hope you can.
I'm just biting off way more than I can chew these days. Okay, let's do the stop complaining and do something segment. This is where, adults, we just complain about the younger generation all the time. Well, stop complaining. And if you could do something about it, if every one of these kids in America was in your youth group for a night and you had a chance to speak a message to them, what are you going to do? What are you going to say?
I'm going to say never given, always earned.
Okay.
Never given, always earned. Do something.
Don't expect something.
Don't expect it. Work for it.
Sure.
Like I said, you boys, not so much Jenny because she was younger, although we created jobs for her, for Katrina when she came back to us. We had no position for her. So Dad created a job. She was our heat stress monitor.
Huh.
So he paid her $300 a day to ride around in a pickup truck, to every crew out there that was cutting trees to make sure that they all had water and nobody was getting overheated. Created a job for her.
Oh, that's like a safety manager. I mean, because at Omega, we used to have to do that when it was hot. Like we had to take extra breaks.
It's a glorified water boy.
Well, it is. It is. But you have one of those guys go down with heat exhaustion or heat stroke,
and
you're in trouble.
We did. So she did a great job. Great job.
Okay.
So yes, never given, always earned.
Yeah, go get it.
Yes, go get it.
That's right. Yeah, we were just talking with the guys doing the Four Seasons room, Hermelio, which we call Junior, and his son-in-law and his friend, and they're up here, and yeah, you can tell with the name Hermelio, they're definitely Mexican guys, and they're doing a bang-up job, and so we were talking last night after dinner just about immigration and all these things and all this stuff, and he said, man, you come here because of the opportunity.
Absolutely.
If you want to hustle, if you want to work, it's unlike any other country.
Yes.
So.
And he's from Belize. Right. Hermelio Jr. is from Belize. Yeah.
Yeah, which is different than Mexico. I found out last night. Don't we know it? Yes, we got it all figured out. So.
Yes.
Okay, that's good stuff. Okay, shout-outs. You want to give some shout-outs?
I do.
Who's got it right recently that you noticed?
Well, I was going to give one, and then something happened today that says I really need to do this. So I'm going to give two. So earlier today, I was in Fairway. I went to go get Grandpa's ham salad. I have to bring home ham salad from Fairway.
Because Fairway is the Chick-fil-A of grocery stores. Both closed on Sunday.
Apparently so. Yeah. But that's all he asked for is ham salad. So I went to get that, and it's in the back by the meat counter.
Yeah.
And as I'm waiting to be waited on, there was an older gentleman, I'm going to guess late 70s, early 80s. He had been in the store the day before or maybe earlier the day, and he had bought the wrong sandwich meat.
Oh, yeah.
And he was talking to someone. He just wanted to get the non-flavored sandwich meat. And they were trying to explain to him that he couldn't. They don't take food back.
I don't take meat back.
Once you buy it, you kind of buy it. And he said, but we have that, whatever it was he was looking for, in the case, and it's $7. And the man said, I have no more food stamps.
Okay.
And my heart broke.
Yeah.
And I said, sir, get it. I will pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
So he got it, but he'd already had it. He'd already put it in his basket.
Yeah.
So we start walking up to the front, and the same person who for a few minutes had been telling him, we can't take it back, we can't do anything
Right.
about it. If you want it, you're going to have to buy it. As we're halfway up the aisle, he comes behind us and says, ma'am, we'll take care of that.
There you go.
And so, good job, Fairway.
Shout out Fairway.
Shout out to Fairway,
Yeah.
yes, because, my heart just broke for him. That's not what he wanted.
Right.
I'm sure he's on a fixed income.
Yeah.
Maybe he had his meals planned out, whatever, and now he wasn't going to because he bought the wrong thing.
Yeah.
We're all going to get old one day, and we're all going to need that little extra bit of grace.
Yeah.
And I hope that when I reach that point in life that whoever it is, somebody standing there, will give me that grace.
Absolutely.
So-
I'm already at the age, if I don't write it down, I forget it.
Me too.
So,
Me too. And then the other shout out I want to give will be to someone none of y'all know.
oh, Sarah's taking the picture. You want in on the shot? No, she
Really?
made that mistake once before. When I was zooming with Micah Smith, she comes in behind. I was like, you're in the shot.
Oh,
No, Sarah's she's the off-camera talent for sure.
yes, she is. She does a great job.
Yeah, she does.
So the other shout out I want to give will be to no one, anybody listening probably even knows, Stephen and Allison Forte.
Oh, yeah, I know them. Yeah.
They live in Alabama. They are the owners of Innovative Roofing. I met Stephen a few years ago during Hurricane Ian, and he was working with a company that I work with called Global, and we just seemed to click. I always cook for the camp, and he fell in love, although he had a really bad reaction to catfish courtbouillon, and had a really, really bad reaction, and we now learned that he's allergic to catfish.
Oh, my goodness.
To catfish. But anyway,
That's a terrible allergy.
we talked. So this is the September-October time frame, and we talked about next storm, we're going to do a man camp, because two of the hardest things when you are first on the ground after a storm is food and lodging. There just isn't any.
Yeah.
So we're going to start a man camp where we can cook and house our own people. And he said, Trisha, if you can take care of the cooking end, I can take care of the man camp end. We'll just partner up on that. The other two partners weren't too interested. They would have went along with it, but they weren't as involved or invested as Stephen and I.
Yeah.
And he said, what will it take to get you to do that? And I said, well, I'll partner with you, but I need you to provide me health insurance. September, October. Remember? September, October time frame.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, we'll provide that for you. Unbeknown to me, November, they applied to they have a group policy through Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They put me on that policy. That went into effect December 1st. I was diagnosed with breast cancer December 10th.
Wow.
They have never asked me for a premium. Never. Allison and Stephen have paid my premiums for almost 2 years. Never asked me for a penny. Never.
Huh.
And I've never got to work a day with them. We never had another storm. We had no storms last year. So our first chance at a man camp is going to be this year.
Oh, when this hurricane comes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Well, good for them.
Yes. They didn't have to do that.
That's almost unbelievable.
It
as
is.
I'm processing
It is. And I speak to them frequently. We are doing the food portion of the man camp. I don't know that we're going to get the lodging done this year, but we are doing the food portion of the man camp. Just great Christian people. And I bring it up every once in a while. I'll say something about, the premiums, and it'll say, well, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. But they never come forward with a resolution. They know what, I spend a couple $1,000s a month just in prescriptions. That's my cost.
Yeah.
And they know that. They can see, they see all my charges because I'm on their group policy.
Yeah.
But thank you to Stephen and Allison for being, they're not just hearers of the word, they're doers of the word.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like they're great servants. They're good stewards. They're great servants.
Yeah, that's generous.
And yes, it is very generous. Because without them, honestly, I would have to be at Charity Hospital.
Yeah.
I would have to be in line where it takes months and months and months to get an appointment.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just not somewhere where you want to be if you have a potentially fatal illness.
Right. Yeah.
You need immediate treatment or immediate response or continuous follow-up. Charity Hospital is not where you want to be. Break a leg, go in, get it fixed. Yeah. But not for something that could be potentially fatal. So thank you to Stephen and Allison, and I know they're blessed beyond measure.
Awesome. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. All right. Let's keep going with some of these other ones you picked out. Pet peeves. What are your pet peeves?
Left lane drivers.
On the interstate?
Left lane drivers, yes. I'm not a fast driver. But if I want to go around somebody, I want to go around them.
That's what the left lane's for.
And there will be somebody doing 50 miles an hour. And if it rains, listen, we don't get snow, thank goodness, because we don't know how to drive in the rain. People in the South don't drive in the rain very well.
Yeah.
They want to do 20, or they want to put on their flashers and pull over. Left lane drivers, that's my biggest pet peeve.
Top 3 movies.
The Blind.
Yeah.
The Family Man.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Oh, what was my third one? Oh, I told you, either The Green Mile. It's got to be The Green Mile.
Oh, yeah. You said it was almost a toss-up. Green Mile
or Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank, yeah.
Green Mile.
Man.
John Coffey. What a,
Yeah.
Yes.
Classics.
Yes.
Favorite song?
Oh, I have a new favorite song by Toby Keith. It's the last song he wrote and performed, Don't Let the Old Man In. And here's the deal.
Oh, I don't think I heard that.
Oh, you have to listen to it. As you know, Toby Keith died of stomach cancer earlier this year. He was having a conversation with Clint Eastwood. And he said, man, you and Willie never age. And I know why Willie doesn't age, but tell me why you don't age. And he said, don't let the old man in.
Okay.
And he said, explain that. And he said, he'll come knocking at your door. Just don't let him in. Meaning you stay young, be active and things like that. And he wrote a song, Don't Let the Old Man In. And it talks about enjoying sunsets, loving on your wife. Don't let the old man in.
Sure.
Yes.
Because what is Clint Eastwood now, 90?
He's got to be 90 years old.
Wow. Man. Oh, that's a good one. That's good.
Yeah, so listen to that. If you get a chance, listen to it. Don't let the old man in.
Absolutely. Okay. First car, worst car?
First car, 1967 Plymouth Fury 2, which I showed you yesterday.
Yeah. Was the Fury, was that the one in Christine? Or was that not a Fury?
Oh, I don't know.
The movie buffs will know.
Yeah, they will know. I don't know if it was or not. Mine was white or cream colored with a red interior. It was my uncle's fishing car. But that's so that I could go to my first job. Because we lived in Slidell, and Slidell was very small then.
Yeah.
So, yes, I had it. And the worst car that I had?
Hopefully this is one I remember.
Chrysler Cordoba. Do you remember that one? It was the burgundy-colored car that we had on Ranch Road. You were little. And it had that burgundy-colored velvet interior. Yeah. That car broke down more times than ever.
Maybe I do kind of remember that. Maybe I do kind of
remember. Oh, my gosh. Worst car ever. Chrysler Cordoba.
No. I got memories of that little tan thing that we got in the accident where I broke my leg or whatever.
That was the Toyota Celica.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
good
then
car.
I remember like the Murata.
Yes.
The blue Murata.
The blue Dodge Murata.
And then it was pretty much vans after that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Okay. All right. You chose one I didn't think you would pick, but if you're on death row, what's your last meal?
Boiled crawfish. Without a doubt. Boiled crawfish.
With everything in there?
Everything.
All right. Man.
Yeah, I've never heard anyone. I've never heard anyone answer that question.
Oh, yeah, our first couple guests did. But then after that, it's been a drought. All right, Mom, I got to thank you for coming on. It was fun. It was cool that when you got up here for, 4 or 5 day vacation, you said, hey, let's do this. The Lord put it on my heart to maybe share with some people about breast cancer. I said, well, we can maybe make it a little bit more than that. We can have some fun. We can make it like a 1-hour special episode for sure.
Yes.
So it was a lot of fun. Really good discussion. I'm sure you encouraged our audience with everything you shared. So my question is to the audience, have you guys caught yourself looking around and thinking, what is up with this or what is up with that? Like, I mean, you could pick anything. Recently you and me were talking about what was up with that Tyreek Hill traffic stop. Like, dude, listen to the cops, you'll be fine. Like, why are we blowing this out into this big deal? Like, it's because we've now got to separate ourselves into groups. And if you're this color or this, you've got to hate cops and this and that. And it's like, no. It doesn't have to be that way.
No.
Why is this stuff happening? Why are we being trained to think like that? Why are things the way they are? The answers can't be found down here. People are going to come up with answers, and they're going to be wrong, I'm telling you.
Yes.
We got to look up. We got to look to God and His Word, and He will truly show you what is up. I still think the Bible gives the best answers and the best explanations. If you guys want to know more or you want to argue with me about that, that's fine. You can email me, you can call me, you can text me, you can join me any Sunday at FBC in Dunkerton, or you can watch online on our Facebook page if you're not in the area. You can leave a comment in the comment section wherever you're listening. That would be awesome. It actually generates traffic on my site and makes me look good. So, or you can email me at whatisuppodcast@gmail.com. I'll personally share the gospel with you. I'll answer questions. I'll debate ideas with you. I'll do whatever you want to do. Okay. I will try and get you to understand and know for sure that God is real, that He loves you, and He wants a relationship with you. Amen. Even the ones who don't believe in Him. Okay. If you haven't figured it out by now, there's absolutely nothing on this earth that you can put your hope in. There's no person. There's no government. There's no politician. There's no preacher. We got to look up. So if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, like I asked earlier, please follow, leave a 5-star review, leave a comment, then let your opinion be heard by answering our poll question. I don't know what kind of poll question I'm going to put on this episode, but there will be one. Look for it, answer it. Okay, if you're on YouTube, subscribe, hit that thumbs up, leave a comment there, then share this thing with everyone you know. Okay, get on our social media, get on our Facebook, get on our Instagram, share this thing. It's really a fun venture we're doing. It's a family venture, and I think we're helping people. We're cruising into year 2, so. But if you want to reach out, I welcome feedback, questions, comments, even criticism. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope it really encouraged you. Lord willing, I'll talk to you on the next one.